Chelsea won, Arsenal won. Under normal circumstances, you'd take a draw at Stamford Bridge, but in this context, considering the way the season has gone, this has simply not been good enough. At the end of the day, I looked at that game and I thought to myself, you know what, a draw was deserved, especially for both teams. And with the way Arsenal played, especially with Odegaard in the team, I thought that Arsenal looked a lot better compared to how Arsenal usually look. And with Odegaard in the team, you can see how vocal he is, you can see the way that he demands other players to get into certain positions, and you can tell that he's a general when it comes to the attacking line of the team, and it's clear to see how much we missed him. But even with Martin Odegaard, I didn't think he had the best of games, and I wasn't expecting him to have the best of games because he just came back from an ankle injury, and it would be unfair to expect anyone coming from an injury like that to come into this game and make a direct impact. But the thing is, he did manage to get an assist. Martinelli scored a goal against Chelsea, and he tends to do well against Chelsea, and with the way that he celebrated, he looked like it was a bit of a sigh of relief. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough, because as soon as we got that first goal, the first thought in my head was we need to get another one, because you never know what Chelsea are going to do. And Chelsea have been looking quite decent this season with Pedro Neto, a player that I thought Arsenal should have gone for in the summer. He's a good player. And when Madueke came off, a lot of people were confused, but it just turned out to be a Maresca masterclass. He cut in, went down the middle, Timber was on him, but the midfield was nowhere in sight to close him down, and Neto scored an absolute banger. And what can I say? Well played by Pedro Neto. And with Arsenal, they bought on Trossard, they bought on Marino. I can see why Arteta bought him. It's all kind of made sense to me. He's a tall centre midfield player. He's a bit of a ball carrier. When it comes to being pressed, he can resist that and just get out of those sort of situations. And because he's so tall, when Arsenal cross the ball into the box, there's a good chance that he can header the ball and get a goal. And we've seen it from his set pieces, and we've seen it in this game as well, because I've seen him get some chances, and although he wasn't able to get in the back end of it, it makes sense from that angle to see why Arsenal brought him in as sort of a guy that can come off the bench and possibly help provide a goal. But at the end of the day, this game wasn't good enough, and with Trossard, I've seen him come on the left wing position. He looked more comfortable in that spot, but you know what it is with Trossard, his confidence is absolutely shot. Over the last couple of games, I've been very harsh on Trossard, and he deserved the criticism that he's gotten because he's played multiple games and he hasn't proved his position. But you see, the thing is that with Trossard, he wasn't a cam, and he shouldn't have been expected to play cam in the first place. And because Odegaard's been injured and there hasn't been an adequate replacement to play in Odegaard's position, we had to play Trossard there, and now we've completely and utterly destroyed Trossard's confidence. And from somebody who is the best number 12th man in the league, in my opinion, he just looks completely and utterly out of it mentally, in my opinion. And we've seen it today. He missed some very key chances, especially in the last minute. I thought maybe he might have been offside, but for me, based on what I've seen, it's going to take a while for him to get back into the groove of things, especially with the run that Arsenal have been on. Last 4 or 5 games without a win. It's not good at all for Arsenal Football Club, and the international break couldn't come fast enough. I thought that Saka was very poor. He limped off, and one thing I want to make absolutely clear is that I don't want a lot of these players to go on the international break, especially players that have just come off of injuries. Like, for example, Declan Rice. Declan Rice had a toe injury, and if things have gone bad in this game, then he could have been out for a very long time, even more than 3 to 4 weeks, in which usually it takes for a toe to heal. But if things went left in this game, he could have been out for months on end, even more than Odegaard, and we can't have a player like that go out for as long as that. So for the players that want to play for England, especially if Carsley is the manager, don't bother, because Carsley isn't going to be there any longer. He's going to go back to the under-19s, under-21s, and Tuchel's going to come in. So there's nothing you need to prove from this manager. He just needs to pick young players, give them a chance, and then go back, because don't want to see any of the senior players, especially from Arsenal, go and play there, because it's absolutely ridiculous, and there should be some sense from these guys as well. But yeah, with the other players, I thought that, especially from Gabriel Jesus, when he came on, I'm tired of this guy. I'm done with him. I'm absolutely utterly done with him. He was a passenger in that team. He didn't do anything. He just kept passing the ball back. He made one run, he was offside there, but honestly, I am through with him. The quicker he leaves the club, the better. I know some people, I think Declan Rice had an interview very recently where he said that he was one of the players that really impressed him, but you know what? He's not impressing any of us, especially watching from the sidelines, and I'm tired of him. He doesn't justify his wages, he doesn't justify his place at the club, and he needs to go. I'm done with him. Gabriel Jesus, he needs to get out of it. Now, in terms of the other players, Partey didn't have the greatest of games in my opinion. Yes, he broke through the lines a couple of times, but in terms of the overall midfield, especially when it comes to the chance creation, even with Odegaard back in the team, there's been changes, but we're not creating as many chances as I would like to do. And with Gabriel Martinelli, as I said, he scored the goal, but I need to see a lot more from him this season. And throughout the game, other than the goal, he just looked like how he usually does, and he needs to hold his head up and see what's going on around it, rather than just continuously looking at the ball and being less aware of his surroundings. And look, for Arsenal's sake, what does this mean, especially for Arteta? Look, we're 9 points from Liverpool from the top. That is a very, very big margin, especially at this stage of the season, and it's going to take a monumental effort to make some sort of effort in this Premier League. For me, from what I've seen, I'm not sure it's going to be enough, honestly, and we're going to have to really buck up our ideas after the international break and see what we can do, and hopefully get through November and December and see what things we can do in the transfer window and really boost the squad, because this team really needs it. And if there's an opportunity for Arsenal to make a statement and to try and win the league, this season is as good as any. Manchester City is dropping points, Liverpool may or may not drop points, we don't know, but it's there for the taking. And a lot of pundits have come out and said that Arsenal Football Club have a very good chance to go out and win the league, but based on what I'm seeing on the field, based on what I can see from the confidence of the players and the body language from the players and the manager, I'm just not looking convinced right now. I don't know if these guys can really do it, because they're just not showing it to us and to the fans across that are there. I mean, credit to the fans at Stamford Bridge, especially at their away end. They really sung their hearts out and did the best they could to motivate the players. And when we go into the transfer window, we need to get a few key additions that can help our squad. We shouldn't wait till the summer. Now his season is as good as any. We need to take our chances, especially in the Premier League and the Champions League, and especially the fans need to be more demanding of the scenario. I know a lot of fans are just kind of hoping and saying, oh yeah, we can still go for the league and this and that. Nah. This issue is a lot larger than what people think it is. And in terms of a striker, I know that there's one guy available, world-class striker, that's playing at Galatasaray right now. He recently scored a couple goals, I think it was against Tottenham. So you know what, go get him, and his name's Osimhen. And this is the thing with Arteta, like, you need to be able to deal with the big egos now, especially with the transfers you made this season. You need to get somebody like that into the squad, a proper gunman that can actually challenge Kai Havertz and other players and really take this team to the next level. Even if it is on loan, even if you need to pay the money, you need to do it, because a lot of fans are having enough, especially with the amount of draws and losses that we've seen from Arsenal thus far. And the thing is that if Arne Slot with Liverpool managed to somehow win the league this season, then it's not gonna look good for Arteta, and that is possibly a sackable offence. Now, in terms of some other news that I've heard, we're talking about a new sporting director, and some of the names that have come up, I'll just quickly mention them now: Rosicky, Mertesacker and Arsene Wenger. Now, with Mertesacker, he's an internal person, and I don't see how somebody internally could have any idea how to be a director of football and how to deal with the transfers and how to talk with the other teams. That's going to be a horrible idea from the jump. Rosicky, he has helped Sparta Prague win 2 league titles and 1 domestic cup, but like I said, he hasn't worked at a big enough club to deal with the transfers and know how to get the players from the other teams and have some sort of network in that regard. If we were to brought him into the team, the knowledge that he would come from is probably somewhere like Russia or Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic or somewhere like that. So I'm not sure how that's going to also be able to help Arsenal in any way. And the third one is Arsene Wenger as well. And look, as much as a lot of people love Arsene Wenger, he should be nowhere near Arsenal Football Club. He's done his bit, he's had his time, but if Arsenal were to bring him back, then it will only tarnish the legacy further than what it is right now. And I don't want to see Arsene Wenger anywhere near Arsenal Football Club. He's working as a director, a chief or director at FIFA. He's working there at some capacity and he just needs to stay there. And in order for Arsenal to progress, especially in the director of football department, they need someone that's going to challenge Mikel Arteta, someone who's going to be able to get the best signings, world-class signings, and someone who's able to sell players as well. For example, even now, Nuno Tavares, right? I know a lot of Arsenal fans don't really like him, but guess what? He's 8 games, 8 assists. He's doing really well in the Italian league, and they have an obligation to buy, I think, whoever got him, of around 5 million, and he's about to challenge the assist record in the league. So from Arsenal's perspective, that's a really poor bit of business, and that could be partially why Edu has left, because Edu, as good players as he brought to the club, in terms of selling, just hasn't been good enough. I have to say it for how it is. And the reason why I mentioned this director of football thing right now is because I've been looking a lot into just some of the news of Arsenal as of late, and we're going into the international break, and I just don't think that currently the direction that Arsenal going in is in the right direction. I think we're actually going to go back and stagnate, especially if we make these sorts of acquisitions, because the thing is, right, is with these sort of guys like Rosicky and Maresca and even Wenger, unfortunately these guys represent a time in Arsenal where Arsenal were weak, mentally fragile, naive, pathetic in my opinion, because there were a lot of mental midgets that came from that era, from the early Emirates era especially, and in the early 2010s, let's say, where these guys just weren't able to do much against the top teams and regarded fourth place as a trophy. And that's not the sort of mentality, and that's not the type of personnel that I want at this club. I want winners. I want people that are actually going to get Arsenal over the line, and I believe these sorts of people that have been part of that sort of era won't be able to do that for Arsenal Football Club. And I'm also including Arsene Wenger in that as well, because he was a major part of that in the squads that he made, especially in that time. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, for the league, coming back to the Chelsea game, this wasn't good enough. Arsenal needed to win. It's going to be much harder now, in my opinion. I'm not sure Arsenal can get the league at this point. There's still a long way to go, but I think there's already been a lot of damage done. But yeah, let's see what the international break holds. Arsenal, just not good enough, I'm afraid. Not good enough at all. Anyway, hope to hear you all soon in the next video. Please put your comments down below. Yeah, let's see what happens next. Bye bye.